some guys right in some parts of the state of Texas that don't believe I'm too righteous either.
Whatever you do right now, don't you stop tithing. Don't you stop sowing offerings. Well, they won't let us go to church. Well, email it in there, text and give or something, but you get your tithe in that church. If you have to go take it down there and drop it off and stick it under the door or something, you get that tithe in that church, you get that offering in that church, and then you go home and you do what we're supposed to do.
Most of the time, I don't feel too righteous. Whew. I remember when I first read that, I thought, who, me? You know? There's some guys right in some parts of the state of Texas that don't believe I'm too righteous either. Whew. Man alive, after the way I lived before I got a hold of God. So the other day in Dallas, I was at Love Field fixing to leave town on the airplane, and a friend of mine was with me. In fact, he's in the studio audience here tonight. And when I put the check that said Kenneth Copeland Evangelistic Association over on the counter, you know, to buy the airplane ticket, the guy looked at it, and he stood back a minute, and he looked at me. He said, Evangelistic Association. I said, yeah, you know. He said, he turned around to the other guy, and he said, are you with him? He said, yeah. He said, do you know about him? He kind of smiled. He said, yeah, I know all about him. He said, you're not telling me anything new. He said, I know something about him you don't know.
Again, getting back to the comment, you said that you don't like to fly commercial because you don't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities.
But within a few short years of meeting Oral Roberts, Kenneth and Gloria founded Kenneth Copeland Ministries, or KCM for short, in Fort Worth, Texas, and he appointed himself as head pastor. But rather than stick to the method popular with regular churches, where there's a set location and regular congregation in attendance, the couple decided to take their ministry nationwide. They began by offering 3 to 6 day conventions across the United States. These recruitment events still run today and are free to attend. At the time of this recording, KCM is holding events from Nebraska to Colombia, which brings us to the primary teachings of Kenneth's particular brand of evangelism. Kenneth aligns to the charismatic movement, which is also known as renewalism.
Don't ever do it. Don't ever feel sorry for yourself. Don't ever do it. Absolutely stunning. Delicious. It's so good. And he will be like Moses, and he'll live 120 years. And he said, yeah. Preach it, brother, preach it, brother, preach it. Just before the cross. And we have a healing covenant. Dwells in me, the pure, spotless blood of God. And hesed was performed for me. He's my blood brother, and my father is my friend. Fear of this coronavirus is faith in its ability to hurt you or kill you. Fear of, what are we going to do? I'm getting laid off at work. Hey, your job's not your source.
Yes, it is. That's where you get your money. You get your money from your job. Your job pays you.
Of course. If it is, you're in trouble. Jesus is your source.
Jesus doesn't sign checks for me.
Whatever you do right now, don't you stop tithing. Don't you stop sowing offerings. Well, they won't let us go to church. Well, email it in there, text and give or something, but you get your tithe in that church. If you have to go take it down there and drop it off and stick it under the door or something, you get that tithe in that church, you get that offering in that church, and then you go home and you do what we're supposed to do. And here's the thing that you must always remember.
Okay.
When you don't tithe, you've got a ticking time bomb in your pocket. And it'll explode right when you needed it not to. Why would anyone not want to tithe? Have you figured out by now God doesn't need your money? He's doing very well.
Yeah, it's Kenneth Copeland that needs his money. Or that needs their money.
But the reason he insists on it is so that he has the opportunity to enter into our affairs and then turn around and bless us and spend it all back on us. The time has come, hallelujah, for ministries, particularly traveling ministries, to have some other method of travel other than the airlines.
That's right, sir. Agreed.
You get into this situation, we're not going to let you fly unless you're vaccinated. Well, to me, that's the mark of the beast.
Kenneth quit his job to study at Oral Roberts Evangelical University in Oklahoma. At 30 years old, Kenneth was by far the oldest student at the university, and he quickly attracted the attention of Oral Roberts himself. During their first conversation, Oral was so taken with the charismatic pilot, he offered him the job of piloting his private jet. It was this position which gave Kenneth Copeland a front seat view of everything evangelism could offer. Not just sermons, ministry, and outreach. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, status, and influence. And while piloting Oral Roberts wherever he wanted to go and getting to be mentored firsthand by the man people considered Christian royalty, Kenneth was taking notes. It seemed the sky wasn't the limit for Kenneth. It was merely the pathway to riches beyond measure. Riches that would later catapult him to a net worth of $760 million, making Kenneth Copeland one of the wealthiest pastors in the world.
Isn't it true that you want to fly commercial so that you can fly in luxury? How much money did you pay for Tyler Perry's Gulfstream jet, for example?
Well, for example, that's really none of your business, but...
Isn't it the business of your donors?
Listen, I paid. You kind of caught me off guard here, okay?